Call the meeting to order for the Franklin Special School District, our July board meeting. Thank you all for coming out. We're going to now turn it over to Dr. Farmer for our Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask that you remain standing for a moment of silence after he does the pledge.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I'll start the pledge. Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have recognitions and good news awards, which we don't have any tonight, but do have a resolution on behalf of the board, so I will read that with glasses. Okay. This resolution is of the Franklin Special School District Board of Education in support of our teachers. Whereas the education of our children is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas the FSSD Board of Education understands that high-performing schools are necessary to the quality of life in our community, state, country, and world, both today and in the future, whereas the FSSD Board of Education recognizes that high-performing schools are contingent upon the quality of the teachers, and whereas the FSSD Board of Education acknowledges the outstanding level of competence and professionalism our teachers uphold in their roles, and whereas our teachers are committed to removing barriers to high-quality education for all of our 3,200 students, as in our vision statement, excellence in teaching and learning for all, and whereas our teachers mold future citizens, our mission of the FSSD being to foster academic, social, emotional, physical, and creative development in each student, to instill a desire to continue learning, to nurture respect for all people, and to promote responsible citizenship. And whereas our teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and whereas our teachers go beyond teaching to provide social and emotional learning, mental health support, and support the whole child, and whereas our teachers are an integral part of FSSD's success in consistently raising the bar for each student and achieving as one of the top 10 districts in the state for overall student performance. And now therefore be it resolved by the board members on this 25th day of July 2022 that the Franklin Special School District Board of Education affirms our commitment to the support of teachers and their invaluable contribution to the education of all students in the Franklin Special School District, and be it further resolved that the FSSD Board acknowledges that without the dedication of our teachers and board support of their extraordinary efforts, the high-quality education currently afforded to our students would not be possible, and encourages all members of our community to join with the board in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for their dedication and devotion to their work. Thank you. We are now open for public input. If there's someone for public input, there's a podium, there's a mic. Ask that you would state your name, write it down, let us know who you are. We have 15 minutes for public input, so each speaker will get 3 minutes, and after that 15 minutes has concluded, public input will be concluded. So if there's someone who wants to speak, public input is now open. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Richardson, and I live at 506 Figures Drive here in Franklin, Tennessee. I just had a couple of questions and a request for you guys about the annex. on Cannon Street over by Franklin Elementary. That butts directly up to my neighborhood. I actually emailed the entire board as well as all of my aldermen 12 days ago. I asked a handful of questions, only 2 were answered. The 3 that have been answered are actually some of my biggest concern. The first is about parent parking. Anytime there is an event at Franklin Elementary School, parking spills over onto Perkins Lane and onto Figures. People are literally parked up our streets. We're happy for that. However, that's with MAC next to it and people being able to park there. Once that property is sold, where will people be parking? There is not enough parking there for the entire school's parents and staff, to my knowledge. So I just want to know what the parking plan is. My second question is, what happens when that bus lane is sold, or when that property is sold? Because we understand it will be sold. We understand that it's your right to sell it. But what is the plan for the bus lane that currently cuts through that entire property? We are already dealing with West Main traffic, Columbia Avenue traffic. Battle is used as a cut through, so is Downs. And Downs has heavy traffic in the mornings, causing backup on both streets on either side. So we know that the bus lane and parent pickup will be rerouted, and it will be rerouted through neighborhoods that back up not very far to these very busy streets already. So what's the infrastructure plan for that? What's the traffic plan for that? And also, how many staff are there and how many parking places are there? Are there even enough staff parking places for the staff and teachers who are there without thinking about parents needing to come up? So these are just 3 questions that we have. Some of my neighbors are closer to the school. They're very concerned about being gridlocked in their homes for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon. Because Franklin Special School District already has the plan to sell this, my assumption was that you guys would already have a plan for parking and for both of these things, but I've not gotten an answer in 12 days. I believe Tim deferred to Esslinger, but I didn't actually get a response to that. I double-checked before I came just to be sure, to an email that was sent. So again, these are my questions from the email that was sent. I'm just asking them again. I want them on record again. Additionally, I'd really like to ask you guys to add a PUD to the sale of this property. That way our neighborhood is protected. We know what is coming. You guys could put in there that you get to have your bus lane, or that what we would like to see is 2 acres be required to be green space from that developer. So that's not the city having to buy it, that's not you guys having to donate that, that comes in through the developer. They would pay the fees on that, but there's no reason that we couldn't have that in a PUD also. But that would also give everybody some peace of mind about what the traffic pattern is gonna be like and the influx of people within our neighborhood. So I appreciate your time. Those are just some things we'd really like to see, but again, I'd really love to see a PUD added. My understanding is that that would not require you to resubmit anything that you're already working on, but that it would give you guys peace of mind that there's actually a plan for things, and it would give our neighborhood and community a huge peace of mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Do you want me to take this and fill it so somebody else can come talk? I'll get the last one.
You can just leave it there.
You can leave it. Do you want us to fill it out, or? Yeah. Okay. Oh, come back. I'll bring it back.
Check, check. Is it working?
It is.
Okay. Hey, my name is Nick Baskel-White. I live at 414 Figures Drive. As Rebecca stated, I would have probably sent an email 12 days ago, but I was on active duty orders for the military. My wife calls me and says, hey, there's some concerns, rightfully so, with what's going to happen to this development. It's a green space. I understand it's an annex. It wasn't originally built as a green space. I mean, you can go back in history to the fairgrounds back in the 1800s. But my concern, along with Rebecca and a lot of other individuals in the neighborhood, is we ask for a PUD. The last thing we want is for it to be overdeveloped. It leads into the traffic issues, which would be a concern with the young children, the pets we have on the street. It also leads to, if it's overdeveloped, like I've moved my wife 8 times in 9 years of marriage because of the military. We've lived in a lot of great places. Franklin's a great place. But if we wanted to live in a built-out place with no green, we would have picked an urban center, maybe like downtown Nashville. So additionally, with what's happening with the development. My concern, if you just give a blank check without a PUD, is that they're just going to concrete it up, roof line it up, and then we're going to have issues with flooding. We already have 3 creeks that run through our area. Franklin has been out there just right before I went on orders for redeveloping those creeks because of flooding. So the second and third order effects come back to the bus lanes, safety, traffic flow, flooding, and we would like to keep a green space potentially in our area, but I recommend PUD. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for this time, for allowing public comment. My name is Jared Sullivan. My wife, my 2 young daughters, and I live on Figures Drive, which is near the 1406 Cannon Street. It's the historical property that this board wants to rezone as an R4 residential tract, a property where one member of this board told me he would like to see 30 luxury homes built. I'm here to urge you to reconsider this plan, at least in part, and to do 2 things that would benefit the families who support FSSD. First, the board should set aside 2 acres of dedicated park space to ensure that 1406 Cannon, the former county fairgrounds, continues to benefit the public just as it has since 1868. The field behind 1406 Cannon has served as a park for our community for at least 70 years, and we'd like to see some of that preserved as green space. So far, though, when this suggestion has been raised, the school district has balked, saying we can't do that. That's incorrect. You can, but you won't. And this, in my view, is betrayal of FSSD's custodial duty to taxpayers. The public bought this land with money it entrusted to FSSD. You manage it for us. And now members of the public are requesting that 2 acres be preserved before the rest is developed. This is a modest request. We hope that you would work with us on this. Second, I urge the board to retract its R4 rezoning request and instead submit a PUD, as some of my neighbors have already suggested, which is a custom development plan that will allow for public input. If the board moves forward with an R4, you will essentially be selling out our community to a developer. Because once the property is sold, you and the public will have no say on whether a developer sets aside green space on the property, or if it reroutes busy school traffic down our streets, or if its rainwater drowns our creeks. A PUD allows for public input on such matters. We deserve this courtesy. We hope this board respects taxpayers enough to heed our modest proposals. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing no one else, we declare that the public input is closed. Thank you. No, Ms. Decker is not here with a report for teaching and learning, but it was in your package, so I hope you had opportunity to review over that. As always, it was great focus and spotlight. So now we'll go to construction report with Dr. Esslinger.
Hey, good evening, everyone. In your board packet, you have your monthly construction report, and as you can tell, there continues to be a lot of work going on in our district to improve our facilities. There are some additional information to note regarding the central office complex project that I'd like to share with you. Phase 1A has started and is scheduled to finish up around the middle of November of 2022. The guaranteed maximum price for Phase 1B is scheduled to be presented for board consideration at the September 12th board meeting. If approval is granted, work for this phase could start very soon after the approval, the end of September. Phase 1B of the Central Office Complex project includes the interior renovation of the existing building and most of the site work for the entire project. During this phase, Nabolts will have the ground open in many areas and will be moving large amounts of dirt. All buses will need to be relocated during this phase. Therefore, in the best interest of driver safety and to protect against interruptions in transportation services, we decided to go ahead and temporarily move the entire bus fleet and operations to the Central Office Annex before the start of this school year. Phase 1B is scheduled to conclude around April of 2023, at which time transportation operations will move to their permanent home, the new Facilities and Transportation Center. The timing of our unforeseen delays in the sale of the Central Office Annex property will hopefully work in our favor by providing our Transportation Department a temporary home during Phase 1B. Wanted to give you that update as to why we have several yellow buses over there currently. Any other questions regarding our construction report?
Just to clarify, putting the buses at the Central Office Annex is temporary.
Yes, sir.
It is because we have this new property. That's what we were trying to get away from in the first place, but this is just a temporary measure, and if it stays one day longer than necessary, shame on us. We need to get it done as quickly as we can, because it will be a disruption. So,
yes, sir. That was the location that was the easiest to transition transportation operation to. We already have a network still in place. We have an office ready to roll. We have the parking available because we vacated everyone else from the Central Office Annex in preparation for that. But since Phase 1B, site work has expanded to include most of the property at Eddy Lane. We could not have the buses on site during that site work. We made the decision to go ahead and pull the trigger and do it at the beginning of the year and not mid-semester, where it would be a challenge to not hinder our services to our students. So yes, sir, they're all there now. They're in transition, moving this week, actually. It was the easiest place to relocate them temporarily until their new home is permanently built.
okay. I know just in the context of our discussions here and the larger use of the property, et cetera, it is going to be a disruption. We don't mean for it to be, and we will work to have it minimized as quickly as possible.
Yes, sir. It would be all dependent on the schedule of construction.
I had a question. Since the sale of the current property relates to the building of the new property, can you just address the parking issues at Franklin Elementary and if we're concerned about that?
Sure. And I did reply and copied you all in that email, so I'd be happy to resend that. Which question specifically, Ms. Newman?
I think there was a question about, is there enough parking for staff and is there enough parking for parents?
Gotcha. Franklin Elementary currently employs 37 certified teachers, 28 classified staff, and there are currently 151 marked parking spaces for those 65 employees currently working at Franklin Elementary. So on a day-to-day basis, there's abundance of parking at Franklin Elementary. There always has been overflow parking wherever a person might find a spot during large events in the evenings, like, for example, Fine Arts Night, or our open house, or graduation, or fourth grade celebration. So those events do have overflow parking wherever they might find it, up and down all the streets, because there's grandmoms and granddads and aunts and uncles all come.
I guess was with the sale of the central office annex currently, have we already reconfigured even for this school year busing and things like that, bus lanes and in
Yes,
and
ma'am.
out, and I guess even with this new caveat of having our buses stored there, how that's going to work?
Yes, ma'am. The buses arrive and depart Franklin Elementary from Figures Drive. Car riders arrive and depart coming in off of Battle Avenue behind the Central Office Annex. The rerouting plan will now have car riders come in off of Cannon Street and Fairground Street, drive behind Central Office Annex, and loop into the stacking lanes 2 cars at a time. We have communication planned to go out to all Franklin Elementary families this week, if it hasn't already gone out, telling them that we have a minor change to the car rider stacking protocol. And when I say stacking protocol, if you've ever picked up your children in the afternoon, you know that protocol. But we did a study of the space, study of the distance, and actually there'll be more stacking space in this scenario than in the previous scenario, which was a single line all the way to Battle Avenue. So the car riders would still pick up and drop off on the same side of the building. They would just come in off of Fairgrounds and Cannon.
Can you resend that email? Because I
Absolutely.
received it as well, and it did have some of those questions answered in that.
Absolutely will.
Okay.
And buses will not be affected at all. The bus drop-off and pickup is not affected at all. None of that property is involved in the annex property.
I also want to add that at all of our schools, we don't have any school when you have night activities that people are not parked everywhere. I mean, on those special occasions, there's no way to have enough parking. Even at this location, Moore Elementary, I'm thinking there are people parked all over the sides and the sidewalks. On those special occasions, those special nights, we don't have space that can accommodate every vehicle, with or without having additional space there. So that's always a challenge, but people work through it because they know those are not regular events. Those are special events. So just wanted to make sure that Franklin Elementary is not the only campus where that problem occurs. That situation occurs at every, and you've all been to those campuses and you've seen that.
But day-to-day parking is adequate.
Yes.
Also, at all of our schools, my understanding is when school is not in session, playgrounds, soccer fields, things like that, communities use those.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct?
That's correct.
And that would stay the same at Franklin Elementary as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dr. Esslinger? Not, thank you, sir. Approval of board agenda, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the board agenda.
Second? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Approval of consent agenda, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Approved. Business before the board. Dr. Snowden, item number 1.
Yes, item number 1 is the FSSD budget for FY 2022-2023. The final general purpose and debt service budget documents, including a summary and complete revenues and expenditures, have been provided to you for review. During the work session, much was accomplished through great questions and discussion by board members. We're extremely appreciative of your diligence during those work sessions. I would also like to recognize the work done by Dr. Esslinger, the finance personnel, and also the school and district administrators and supervisors during this process. We also always appreciate the board's continued focus on providing FSSD employees with an extremely competitive compensation package to recognize the dedication, their dedication to the students and families of the FSSD. The proposed 21-22 budget provides a 4% cost of living adjustment for all FSSD employees. Additionally, the budget provides a step increase or the equivalent of a step increase for all employees, even those who are at the top of a step of their salary scale. Also included in this proposal is the adjustment of 3 non-exempt salary schedules by 2% at each step. Those salary schedules are A, F, and K. This is in addition to the 4% cost of living adjustment. The continued payment of 100% for full-time employee insurance premium is also a part of the budget, proposed budget. Also included is the increase to the tuition reimbursement program for employees seeking advanced degrees from $30,000 to a $40,000 pool, which will make the tuition hour as they take those classes and get reimbursed to some extent a little larger pool. So maybe that would help incentivize teachers and others to go back for their educational advancement. Also, there's an additional flex day for employees as a part of this proposal, and this would provide an employee up to be able to flex up to 2 of their sick days during a fiscal year. Also, through the budget process, we presented and discussed budgets for federal capital projects, food and culinary services, and MAC. The administration recommends approval of all the budgets presented during the budgetary process.
Yes, sir. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Let's do a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Newman.
I have some questions.
Sure. Question?
This budget, for those of you who may not know, the board members do not receive any compensation at all. We serve as our community service. We go through the political process to fill these seats. We consider it an honor to do so, but we don't receive any compensation. So what we're about to vote on does not give us a raise, although it is well-deserved. And I just wanted to make that point before we voted.
Yes, sir.
And I need to make a disclosure that in accordance with what Tim said, that is true, but also my wife does work in the Franklin Special School District. This would affect her, but my vote has nothing to do with that. So I have to make that disclosure on an annual basis. That's just my time I'm telling the citizens that my vote here has nothing to do with the fact that it may impact my wife.
And I am in that same predicament. Once a year, I'm entitled to make this disclosure that my wife also works for the district, and my vote does not, although it will impact her, you know, she's her own person. So it does not influence my vote.
Any other comments, questions?
I want to say that I'm thankful for everyone that worked on this budget. I think we've had 2 very hard years for our employees, and I'm glad that we were able to work through this and make this budget work for them, and I hope that they feel our support.
Well said. There's no other discussion, then we have a motion and a second. We'll start with Ms. Newman.
Yes.
Mr. Blair, yes. Ms. Bell?
Yes.
Yes.
Stillings?
Kevin Townsell, yes.
All right, we are approved. Thank you.
Item number 2, FSSD tax rate fiscal year 2022-2023. Since the budgets now have been approved, the tax rate will need to be set for both the general purpose and debt service budgets. The tax rate to fund the proposed budgets is 0.5371 cents for the general purpose and 0.1680 cents for the debt service, for a total of 0.7051. This is the same combined rate as the 2021-2022 budget, so there's no change in the tax rate for this coming budget year. The administration recommends approval of the 2022-2023 FSSD tax rate.
All right, is there a motion?
So
Mr. Stillings, second.
Second.
Ms. Bell, discussion?
and board members do pay this tax because we are residents of the FSSD.
Yes, we do. No further discussion. We'll roll call vote. Ms. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair, yes. Ms. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Stillings?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Kevin Townsell, yes.
All right, we are approved. Dr. Snowden?
Item number 3, Franklin Elementary roof replacement, guaranteed maximum price. That is amendment number 3. This amendment provides the guaranteed maximum price for the Franklin Elementary School roof replacement, and that's a partial roof replacement. The other part had already been replaced. The guaranteed maximum price for the FSSD roof, FES roof, is $879,794. The previously approved amendment number 1 and amendment number 2 was for a guaranteed maximum price of $475,858. If amendment 3 is approved, the total guaranteed maximum price for the Johnson Elementary kitchen expansion, the Johnson Elementary re-roof, and the FES re-roof will total $4,355,652. The administration recommends approval.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Bell, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stillings, is there a discussion?
A funding source? Could you?
Bond funds.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, Ms. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair, yes. Ms. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Stillings?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Kevin Townsell, yes.
We are approved. Thank you.
Item number 4, policy revision, access to public records maintained by the district, 1.407. This is a second reading. The policy revision request renames the policy from school district records and rewrites the policy based on our legal counsel, Chuck Cagle's recommendations and submittal of the language for the policy. There were no changes requested by the board upon first reading. The administration recommends approval of the second and final reading.
Is there a motion to approve? Second.
Second.
Ms. Townsend, discussion?
Dr. Snowden, our staff is pleased with this policy.
Yes, you know, it doesn't take any workload off of them. It still takes some effort when this occurs, but I think this follows closely. In fact, Mr. Cagle, our legal counsel, this is something that the comptroller certainly appreciates because it falls in line with the regulations of the Tennessee Comptroller's Office.
Thank you.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. Dr. Snowden?
Item number 5, policy revision, school volunteers, 4.501. This is also a second reading. The revision request updates the policy to current practice and in compliance with TCA 49513. There were no changes requested by the board. On first reading, the administration recommends approval.
Motion to approve? Stillings, second. Ms. Newman, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, sir.
We'll start now with several policies on first reading. As you can tell by the agenda, with all the policy revisions, the State General Assembly was hard at work this past session, and these policies are all part of the legislation that came out of the last General Assembly. There are some of these that I think if the board would like to consider is to waive second reading and adopt on first reading because they're really simple or straightforward revisions. Item number 6 is one of those. I'd like for you to consider that. Board members' legal status, 1.102. Public Chapter 809 revises the qualifications for school board candidates. State law now requires that candidates be a qualified voter and resident in the county for 1 year prior to the qualifying deadline for running as a candidate. Per TSBA, Director of Policy and Staff Attorney, since this provision appears to solely apply to county districts, it is recommended that if you are in a city or special district, such as we are, to reach out to your attorney and election commission for clarification as to their interpretation. Our Williamson County Election Administrator, Chad Gray, interprets this new public chapter as also applying to our school district. The legislation is effective as of September 2022 and will apply to the next election in 2024. Administration recommends approval.
I move to approve, and I have a question if there's a second.
I second that, but I was wondering if we can waive second reading unless you have a change you want to make.
I'll amend it based on the answer to the
Okay.
question, okay? Mr. Chairman, okay?
Yes, sir.
So it says, the law says must be a resident of the county, and Election Commissioner Gray says it also applies to the FSSD as well. Well, does that mean in order to run in the FSSD, you must be a resident of the county for a year?
FSSD.
Or you must be a resident of the FSSD for a year.
You have to be a resident of the FSSD, since you're running as a board member for that particular governmental position.
Okay. All right, so I retract my motion and move that we accept on first, waive second.
I second that. I have a question, though. I wonder if we should we change that in our specific policy that it says resident in the county? So should we change
Well,
it to
we can certainly change that to county /
FSSD?
school district.
Okay.
Would that, or do you have other wording that you would rather have there?
Well, the way it reads
Or
now.
/ FSSD?
We can't modify state law, though.
Well, no, but interpretation, I guess we could say, so yeah, you're right. We can't change the wording that's directly from law.
But that, then it has, how it reads, it would look like you could reside not in our district and just live in the county and run for our school board. So if we don't want that, that's not currently how we operate, so I'm not
But
sure.
I also think, I haven't looked at this in a while, but I believe our charter for the Franklin Special School District requires a person running for the school board to reside within the Franklin Special School District boundaries. So that charter cannot be violated, even though this policy would say in the county. Our board charter, or the charter for the Franklin Special School District, requires our board members to live within the Franklin Special School District.
That is true.
So you wouldn't need, I don't think you need an adjustment to this. We can always refer back to our charter. Does that make sense?
Considering it's a little bit of confusion, if Tim would, maybe we just, not necessarily waive the second reading, but we revisit that.
See if we can change the wording.
Okay, I retract my retraction. and move that we accept on first and have a second reading.
That's good.
I second that, and can we get clarification if we can change that?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll speak first to TSBA and then also seek advice from legal counsel.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Dr. Smith, this will also give the our legislative body an opportunity to be reminded of the Franklin Special School District story, and that there are multiple special school districts.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Item number 7, policy revision, memberships 1.104, first reading. Revisions are to bring the policy to current practice, and administration recommends approval.
All right.
This would also be one, if I may, ask the board to consider waiving second reading and adopting on first.
All right. Is there a motion to pass on first and waive second?
Motion to accept on first, waiving second.
Is there a second? All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, sir.
Item number 8, policy revision, school board legislative involvement 1.105. Also a first reading. Revisions are to bring the policy to current practice. Administration recommends approval. Also would like, if you would consider adopting on first and waiving second, or waiving second and adopting on the first reading.
Is there a motion to pass on first and waive second?
I'll make a motion to pass on first and waive second reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Is there a discussion? All in favor?
Item number 9, policy revision, board member development opportunities 1.204. First reading, revisions are to bring the policy to current practice. We recommend approval, and also would like the board to consider waiving second reading and adopting on first reading.
Is there a motion to pass on first and waive second?
So moved.
Ms. Stillings, Ms. Newman. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, sir.
Item number 10, policy revision, bids and quotations 2.806. This is a first reading. TSBA Director for Policy has recommended the revisions for this policy. More school boards will be able to increase their bidding threshold based on Public Chapter 1016. We currently have a threshold at $25,000. The threshold can further be increased to $50,000 if the district has a centralized purchasing authority with a full-time purchasing agent and the board votes to increase the limit, which we do have centralized purchasing authority. Additionally, a new state law changes bidding requirements for insurance providers, and per Public Chapter 719, services from insurance providers are exempt from bidding requirements. The administration recommends approval.
All right, is there a motion to approve? Oh, damn, sorry, sir. Second? Ms. Newman, discussion?
This doesn't change in any way the way that professional services are contracted for outside of the standard bidding process.
That's correct.
That's my only question.
Okay. Motion second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor? Thank you, sir.
Item number 11, Policy Revision Emergency Preparedness Plan 3.202. First reading, school districts are now required to conduct at least one virtual learning drill each year per Public Chapter 936. TSBA has updated the model policy to reflect this requirement. Administration recommends approval. Also, this may be one that the board would like to consider waiving second reading.
There a motion to pass on first and waive second?
Motion to adopt on first, waiving second.
Is there a second? Ms. Newman, is there a discussion?
I have a question. What is a virtual learning drill?
Well, once a year, you have to make sure that you can move from a in-person classroom to a virtual learning quickly. So that means you send all the devices, make sure that all the devices can go home, and you just prepared to move into a virtual learning space expediently.
So it tests our ability to rapidly move from classroom to virtual to prevent loss of learning.
Correct.
Okay.
Is it like a fire drill goes off and all of a sudden, stop, virtual?
No, it's
not like
nothing,
that.
it's not to that extent.
Okay.
It says on the policy, students shall not be asked to transition to remote learning during the
Yeah,
drill. So
well-
it's more just can we get the computers
more-
handed out and get them?
Yes.
Okay.
It's more to show or determine if a district can move quickly into that virtual learning environment in case of an emergency or case of whatever, natural disaster, whatever. But it will not interrupt instruction during the day. I didn't come up with a terminology, drill, but that's the state law.
Any other discussion? All right, we had a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you, sir.
Item number 12 is a policy revision instructional standards, 4.1011, first reading. TSBA has updated their model policy to clarify that complaints regarding alleged violation of TCA 491302 regarding prohibited concepts are required to comply with the complaint process outlined by the Tennessee Department of Education's temporary emergency rule. Please note that the regulation below will change as the Department of Ed implements a permanent regulation. Once the department releases a final regulation, we will send any recommended changes and bring those to the board. Additionally, TSBA has added clarifying language regarding how complaints may be submitted if materials are allegedly in violation of Public Chapter 1085. We've used the TSBA model policy to update our policy regarding instructional standards and complaints, as well as adding policy 4.402 and updating policy 4.403 for the board's consideration. We recommend approval.
There a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Ms. Newman, is there a discussion? All in favor? Thank you, sir.
Item 13 is a policy revision, virtual education program, 4.212, also a first reading. Public Chapter 897 allows districts to utilize virtual instruction for up to 2 days each semester. This option can only be used in certain scenarios, for example, severe weather, serious outbreak of illness, and assessments like EOC exams and ACT. TSBA has provided their model policy for our modifications. The administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Newman, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Townsend, is there a discussion?
I have a question. So, for my clarity, if we have a big snowstorm come through and school is out for 3 weeks straight, then we can only educate our children 2 of those days via virtual when they're not able to come to school. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, you know, my one vote's not going to change state law, but I think this is a very short-sighted state law, so I'm going to vote against it.
I had a question also about the virtual instruction. If a student has to leave school for some reason, they are allowed to have more than 2 days of virtual instruction? This
Yeah,
is more
This is more of a
school-wide.
district or school-wide or
Okay.
district-wide.
I guess when I read through it, that was confusing to me that each student could only have 2 days, but that's not what this addresses. This is only if the school.
This is a wholesale.
A whole, and we're allowed 2 days per semester. And do you know how they come up with 2 days?
I have no idea.
I have a
Okay.
clue.
And that is a state law.
That is state law.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, had a motion and a second. All in favor?
And opposed?
And opposed? There's
2
two.
opposed. Therefore, it fails.
Motion fails.
Well, respectfully, we have to follow state law. I mean, we can disagree with the law
That's what
all we want, and I don't agree with the law, but we have to follow the law. So I respectfully request that we pass this.
And honestly, we have in the past, when we've had snow days, we haven't done virtual instruction until we developed virtual instruction. So I think this is
And,
more than we
now-
had before.
And now we have all the wonderful technology and the virtual learning drills, and there's no reason. Virtual learning drills. There's no reason for potential learning loss to occur during extended bad weather.
But it is state law. And we have to
Very
abide by that.
short-sighted.
I agree.
We need to put our best lobbying efforts in. So I will change my vote to pass on first reading, but, you know, I would really like to bend the ear of some legislators to really understand why 2. I mean, why not just like 1 or maybe 20? I don't know. Why 2?
Well, I think, Dr. Snowden, maybe you can answer this. I mean, I'm thinking of teachers and students who are like, yay, it's a snow day. You know, when do you decide to use these days? When do you not decide to use these
Yeah,
days? Because, you
that's,
know, it's not easy, even though we're going to have drills. It's not a drill. It's not easy to transition into a virtual environment unless we know it's going to be significant. I'm not saying we've really been closed for 3 weeks, if ever, for snow. But, you know, how would you even choose when you would use this? What do you think?
As we would all like to have advance notice on snow days, and especially the director of schools, instead of having to wake up earlier and speak to Mr. Alexander, who's on the road, speak to emergency management, conference with Jason Golden in Williamson County. It'd be a lot nicer if Mother Nature would just bring that and let us know what, you know, I think that's a call you have to make when you have enough warning that you know that.
You know, weather is one thing, but this also includes outbreak of illness. So
Sure.
COVID 2.0 comes along. Well, what happens when we are public health dictates that we implement a virtual learning environment? We have to get state law changed to affect that.
And I agree with you.
I
Tim.
didn't
think
get
it's
one, I did not have an opportunity to vote in any
Yeah.
of the
I think
General
it's a
Assembly.
conversation with our legislators. Yeah. I think that's where we stand. It's a conversation with them.
So, I would like to reintroduce this item to pass on first, and give us a little time to lobby and understand what our legislators were thinking, or what they meant by this, but didn't accomplish in what this says. Okay?
All right. There a second to Tim's? A second. All right. All right, any other discussion?
May I add one?
Go ahead.
Since our next board meeting is August the 8th, that's probably not going to be enough time. We'll just plan on bringing this policy back in September instead of trying to find that information and give you an opportunity to speak to legislators. I think that's too quick of a turnaround if we were to try to do it in August. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's still well within, before they start up again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
My hand was half up.
Yeah, I know. You 3.5. All right.
Yeah, I'm still opposed.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you.
that consideration.
All right, Dr. Snow.
Item 14, policy revision and reconsideration of materials 4.402. Also moved from 4.403. This is a first reading. Per TSBA Director of Policy and Staff Attorney, Public Chapter 744, known as the Age Appropriate Materials Act, creates new requirements for boards. This act requires school districts to, number one, maintain and post online a current list of materials in the school's library collection, and number two, adopt a policy for developing and reviewing school library collections. This required policy must contain procedures for developing a library collection, receiving and evaluating feedback, and periodically reviewing the library collection to ensure that it contains materials appropriate for the age and maturity levels of students who may access them, and that it is suitable for and consistent with the educational mission of the school. To assist districts in complying with this law, TSBA has created a new model policy, 4.402, and revised an existing model policy, 4.403. Model policy 4.402 contains the process for handling complaints about textbooks and instructional materials, while model policy 4.403 has been reworked to align with the new state law and focuses solely on library materials. Please note that boards may review these policies to align with local standards. TSBA encourages reaching out to your local board attorney if there are legal concerns. Additionally, we expect the State Textbook Commission and Instructional Materials Quality Commission to release further guidance on this topic by December 1st per Public Chapter 1137. We recommend approval of first reading.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'd like to approve this. Dr. Snowden, adopt on first and waive second.
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 Discussion?
I just wanted to clarify on this one because I thought these next two policies were somewhat confusing. This does not relate to complaints about library materials. This is instruction or curriculum, even though it addresses having library materials posted online. So it's kind of two separate, one
Yeah.
policy, two parts.
Yeah, well, it's two different policies now because the textbook, instruction materials and textbooks is what we're talking about now in 4.402. There's a whole different policy that deals strictly with library materials, which is the next policy we'll discuss.
So this policy is not requiring us to maintain and post online a current list of the library collection.
No, but
That's in the next policy.
The next policy, that's
Okay,
correct.
that was a bit confusing. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Not, motion and a second. All in favor? Stillings.
Item 15, policy revision, library materials, 4.403. This is a new policy, and this is the first reading. Per TSBA Director of Policy and Staff Attorney, TSBA revised existing model policy 4.403 to focus solely on library materials and included the new requirements placed on school districts as outlined in Public Chapter 744. On further review, TSBA has made an additional edit to this model policy to ensure that the roles of the Materials Review Committee and the Board are clearly defined. Clarifying these roles in Model Policy 4.403 will better prepare school districts for when the State Textbook Commission and the Instructional Materials Quality Commission releases its guidance on this topic by December 1st, per Public Chapter 1137. TSBA recommends that all boards adopt this version of 4.403 that has been renumbered to the previous policy, 4.403, has been renumbered to 4.402 and was presented for your consideration in the item 4. We recommend approval.
All right, there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Mr. Stillings, is there a discussion?
Have we always kept a list like that available online of every book we
No,
have in the library?
That's something new.
That'll be new.
That'll be new.
So that'll
and
be quite a task.
quite a task.
Quite a task.
That's an understatement, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's quite a task.
Other discussion?
I just have a question. You are recommending approval, though?
Yes. State law.
The legislature was busy.
I have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, sir. Next
Item
motion.
number 16 is a policy revision, use of internet, intranet, 4.406. First reading per TSBA Director of Policy and Staff Attorney. TSBA has updated Model Policy 4.406 to align with the requirements of Public Chapter 1002. This new law requires boards to have a policy in place regarding complaints about how vendors provide access to online content. The law requires districts to have a policy specifically allowing these complaints and stating how they will be handled. Administration recommends approval of this first reading.
Motion to approve. Mr. Stillings, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Bell, discussion?
Sorry, I have a question. On the policy that you sent us, there was a line where it said insert title of employee. Does that mean there's going to be different people that might be there? It's line like 5 and 6 on the second page or on the third page. I wasn't sure if that was a typo or if that could be a different person. Does that make, you guys seeing that? Right above the email, where it says email.
Do what? Yeah, we need to change, we'll change that before second reading.
Thank you. Motion, motion second. Any other discussion? Not all in favor? Any opposed?
Item 17, policy revision, employment of retirees, 5.119. This is a new policy and also first reading. Due to the increased vacancies across the state, the General Assembly passed Public Chapter 821, allowing an additional option for employment of retirees to fill these roles. To clarify the options for employing retirees, TSBA has created Model Policy 5.119. Additionally, information on retirees has been removed from 5.200, 5.201, and 5.701 to help provide clarity. The administration recommends approval of the first reading.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve without question.
Ms. Stillings, is there a second?
Let me second first.
Second,
And the question is, throughout human history, the TSBA model policies have not always fit the needs of the FSSD. In this case, does their model policy fit exactly what we need to solve our specific issues about employing retirees?
We think it does. I mean, this is being a new law, it's something that we still are learning. I know Ms. Duke and I have had some conversations, Dr. Esslinger and I have had conversations, so I'm going to put Ms. Duke on the spot if she doesn't mind. Well, regardless of whether you mind or not, Ms. Duke. What's your take on that?
Because we haven't done this before, this policy matches what I would expect that we would do. Historically, we have reemployed retirees for up to 120 days in the course of a year, and that's all that we have experience doing. So we haven't stepped into, let's rehire you for a full year, so I feel like this policy meets what I would expect that to be.
If it doesn't meet it, as your experience may or may not bear out, bring it back through the proper channels so we can modify it. Mrs. Newman?
I had a question. The policy goes over if you want to hire up to 120 days, or it's an option to hire someone for 1 year? So it's two different options, is that correct?
That's the way we interpret it.
But we
Well,
weren't.
let me ask Ms. Duke if that's,
We were able to do the 120 days before,
Yeah,
but
we-
that's still in the policy.
The 120 days does not reduce their TCRS benefit. If we hire them for over 120 days, their TCRS benefit actually goes down up to the 70% payout.
And that's outlined in this policy?
It doesn't need to be outlined in our policy,
That's just reality.
That's
Okay.
the agreement that they will have with TSBA as the retiree.
and, you know, it's double dipping, so to speak. You can retire once you have your time in. You can draw your retirement, 70% of it, if you're coming back and working full time. And so it was created or passed to help school districts incentivize people who retire to continue working in the educational field. So it's somewhat of a sweet deal, we think, that people can retire, draw up to 70% or draw 70%, and then draw a full-time salary for teaching.
All right, motion second, further discussion?
Just so I'm clear, we're just first reading?
Yes, first reading.
Any other discussion? Not, all in favor? Thank you.
Item 18, policy revision, separation practice for tenured teachers, 5.200. This is also first reading, is in the description for the new policy, 5.119. Information on retirees has been removed from 5.200, 5.201, and 5.701 to help provide clarity, and placed in 5.119 for clarification of the option for employing retirees. TSBA has provided this guidance due to the increased vacancies across the state with passage of Public Chapter 821. The administration recommends approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? Second. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Dr. Snow?
Item 19, policy revision, separation practice for non-tenured teachers, 5.201. First reading is in the description for the new policy, 5.119. Information on retirees has been removed from 5.200, 5.201, and 5.701 to help provide clarity, and placed in 5.119 for clarification. TSBA has provided this guidance due to the increased vacancies across the state. We've already said that. In addition, Public Chapter 678 requires districts to include additional information when providing notices of non-renewal in certain instances. If a teacher is non-renewed due to a lack of funding for the position, the non-renewal notice must include that information as the reason for non-renewal. Model Policy 5.201 has been updated to include that requirement. We recommend approval first reading.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. Newman, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Bell, is there discussion?
Basically, these last two policies have taken the words from about the retirement and just moved them into the new policy and deleted them from this policy. Is that correct? besides the one little
Yeah.
thing that we added here, okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Dr. Snowden?
Item 20, policy revision, substitute personnel, 5.701. This is also a first reading, as in the description of the new policy. 5.119, information on retirees has been removed from those policies we've already mentioned and placed in 5119 for clarification on the options for employing retirees. TSBA has provided the guidance. We recommend approval of first reading.
Thanks, sir. Motion to approve.
Is this one that we should adopt on first and waive second?
You know, since we didn't do the others, I would prefer just keeping all of them in line, so with the second reading, since they all pertain pretty much to the same subject, if that's okay with the board.
Yes. So, motion to approve.
Second. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor?
Item number 21, policy revision, admission of suspended or expelled students, 6.318. First reading. Also, if the board would, we would ask that you consider waiving second and adopting on first. Previously, state law required that the Commissioner of Education be notified if a district denied enrollment to a student who has been suspended or expelled from another district. Public Chapter 686 removes that notification requirement. TSBA has included this policy revision in their June updates. We recommend approval of first, waive second, and approval on first reading.
Motion to pass on first and waive second.
I'll make a motion to pass on first and waive second.
Ms. Newman, is there a second?
Second, I have a question.
Ms. Stillings, and question?
So I want to make sure I understand this. Student A is suspended or expelled from school district A, enrolls or attempts to enroll in the FSSD, and we deny enrollment. Is that a common occurrence?
Well, thankfully, no, but it could happen. I mean, we have had students who have been expelled from other school districts that have tried to enroll, and we would not accept them, which by law we don't. And we've also had students who committed a zero tolerance offense here and then went to other school districts within the state. And I think the one example I'm thinking about, that school district accepted them, but we do not accept them if they've been expelled from another school district.
So previously, we would have been obligated to notify the Commissioner of Education that we denied enrollment. Under this chapter, we no longer have that requirement to notify.
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All in favor? Dr. Snowden?
This is the one I've been looking for.
Yeah.
Item 22, policy revision reporting child abuse, 6.409, not because of the topic, just because of the number of policy revisions. This is also a first reading. With the June policy updates, revisions have been provided for this policy. Public Chapter 841 narrows the category of individuals who must receive training on child abuse. In the past, state law required all school personnel to receive this training, but moving forward, this training will only be required for employees working directly with students. We have updated Model Policy 6.409 to align with this revised standard. Additionally, Public Chapter 781 allows employees to first report to Department of Children's Services and law enforcement if an alleged incident of child abuse involves someone previously employed by, or otherwise affiliated with the school district. The district's child abuse coordinator must still be notified. However, in those particular instances, they are not required to be notified until the other entities are contacted. We recommend approval of first reading.
All right. Motion to approve.
Here, I have a question.
Stillings, second. Newman, question?
So in the past, we have been obligated to train all school personnel. And now under this new chapter, we are required only to train employees who work directly with students. Was it an undue burden to train everyone? Because I know that there could be things that others see that maybe someone who works directly with that child would not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, I think there is some merit in training everyone, but there are obviously the people that are come in contact or with students on a daily basis in a classroom or a cafeteria or on a bus. Those people sometimes, and there are others that they may see students, but they don't have a lot of contact.
Would we necessarily change the way we do this, or we have the option to change it if we want to?
I think you can do more than a law requires. You just can't do less. So if we want to train everyone, I'm going to refer to Ms. Duke again. Ms. Duke, we already provide this opportunity or provide the training. Thoughts?
We provide the training electronically, so it is done kind of at the employee's availability, so it would be something we could assign to everyone. So yes, I would thought that we could do that, certainly.
More discussion? Go ahead. I'm going to vote that we go ahead and accept this policy only because the language says the category of individuals must receive training on child abuse. It narrows that. I still think our focus should be what it's always been, to train everyone, but at least if we pass this, if we miss one person, we're not out of compliance. So that's the only reason I'm going to suggest it.
That's a good point. And we don't have to change anything. We'll still be in compliance, but I do see, I mean, there's possibility of, let's say, a custodian. He or she may have a relationship with a child because, as you know, our custodians are part of the FSSD family and they're around. So even though they don't work every day with a child, sometimes they have those relationships. So I don't see it as a negative in going through this training. I mean, the people who take the training electronically may complain a little bit, but I don't see it as a negative. And we can do that administratively. We don't have to have a policy. The policy doesn't require it, but again, we can do more than what the law states. You just can't do, we can't do less.
Any other discussion?
I kind of agree with Kevin, and I feel like we're a smaller district. We're kind of a family district. We've always talked about every staff member is a valuable part of our district, no matter what you do, whether you're a bus driver, teacher, paraprofessional, landscape, custodial, and I think because of that, I kind of feel like what you said, Kevin, we don't have to, by law, train everybody, but, you know, that one person that might interact with a student that didn't go through it, you know, I just think it would be, because we are all working together for the benefits of the students, I could see if that's an option, being able to, you know, asking people to go through that, which I know is not enjoyable, but just to, you never know, so I would hate to miss something.
Any other discussion? Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. Director of Schools report.
Anybody have policy fatigue at this point? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Summer MAC program. I sent you guys, all of you, an email after last board's meeting, and you know, we have, my philosophy around here is when you mess up, fess up. And I messed up because I didn't even acknowledge all the great work in my last director's report with our summer MAC program. so I'm trying to get back in good graces with Ms. Parks. I think she's forgiven me, but we're going to start with the Summer MAC program. Our Summer MAC program was held this year at Johnson Elementary with Camp MAC as our theme. We had 252 students enrolled in the program in grades K through 8. Our students were so excited to have field trips return this year. Some of their favorites were the infamous Chuck E. Cheese, skating, and Defy. Each week had a theme with daily activities focused around reading, art, STEM, and sports. Students also participated in a summer reading program where they logged the books they read this summer and also earned a prize for their efforts. This program was also encouraged through the FSSD Story Bus coming to visit. Also provided the opportunity for students to create clay art with Third Coast Clay and learn the art of painting with local artist Shannon Haas several times throughout the summer. MAC would like to thank the administration and custodial teams at Johnson Elementary for their support in helping to make this such a wonderful program for our students. Big thanks to our MAC supervisor, Ms. Parks, and her office staff who organizes the programming behind the scenes and always does an excellent job. Our Young Scholars Institute recap, YSI had a successful 2 weeks. Final enrollment for both weeks was 536 junior scholars and 254 senior scholars. YSI was also able to provide 40 scholarships across both weeks. Students were engaged in an exciting week of challenging and exploratory classes. Some of our exciting classes included arts and crafts such as painting, knitting, and drawing, problem solving such as chess and Lego projects, language classes, cooking classes, sports, Harry Potter book club, music and drama such as dancing, theater, violin, and guitar lessons, and science such as aerospace workshop, crime scene investigator, and STEM classes. A big thank you to the hard work from Summer Carlton and teaching and learning team, and our directors Eric Ellison, Crystal Lepping, Holly Osteen, Travis King, and all of our YSI teachers and staff. Rebecca Lounsbury, the Rebecca Lounsbury FSSD Summer Reading Recap, a total of 18,378 breakfasts and 22,948 lunches were served in the 23 weekdays between May 31st and June the 30th. Meals were served through the Summer Learning Academy, the Young Scholars Institute, MAC, WEMAC, Street Delivery, the Boys and Girls Club, Franklin Housing, and drive-through 7-day meal pickup at LES and PGS. The grab-and-go drive-through, the pickup at Poplar Grove served 2,170 breakfasts and lunches, or 310 children. LES served 3,654 breakfasts and lunches, or 522 children. Each child received 7 breakfasts and 7 lunches. Our youth ambassador from No Kid Hungry, Alexa Ketterman, assisted Lori Morgan with the coordination of the 7-day meal packets. Street Delivery in the Franklin Estates, Franklin area served 3,762 breakfasts and lunches, and the Cadet Liberty area served 2,410 breakfasts and lunches. Children received a hot lunch and a breakfast for the next day. Thanks to the Keep Fed Act, we are able to continue the 7-day meal service July the 8th, 15th, and 22nd. We're also able to continue to provide breakfast and lunch by street delivery. The last day of meal service for summer 2022 will be July the 22nd, which has already occurred last week. Many thanks goes to Robin Cross and her hardworking team for this much needed service to our students and our community. Our summer learning camp and stream recap, we were thrilled to have approximately 426 students who completed the summer learning camp Learning Loss Bridge Kit program. The feedback from parents, students, and staff have been extremely positive. New additions this summer included music, physical education, and a school counselor on staff, as well as the stream component being integrated into the summer learning camp day. We will provide the board with an update, further update at our August board meeting. Storybus Plus, this summer the Storybus welcomed young readers from June the 6th through July the 22nd. Our partnership with Kroger provided 3 convenient stops, Monday on Hillsborough Road, Tuesday on Columbia, and Wednesday on Murfreesboro Road. The Murfreesboro Road location was our busiest location, with Columbia coming in a close second. At those 3 locations, we served approximately 230 children. The Storybus staff enjoyed reading books with the young readers. Many of those were repeat customers and visited each week. On 3 Fridays during the summer Max students enjoyed time on the bus as well. Big thank you to Chuck Sugg for always coming through with Sonic coupons for our visitors. Thanks to Robin Cross and her team for making sure the lunches and milks were prepared, and to the transportation for always having the story bus parked and ready for the staff to welcome students aboard. Our opening day is next Monday, August the 1st. We will have our official opening of schools. Personnel will be attending our program 2 times during the day at the PAC. Some will have sessions at their school and some will be at the PAC, and then the others will have the reverse that day. Our keynote speaker is Dr. Ken Williams. He's a former teacher, assistant principal, and principal, and will share his experience and expertise as a recognized trainer, speaker, coach, and presenter in education and leadership. We hope that your schedule will allow you to join us during either one or both of those sessions to be recognized. We would love to have one session and have it in the pack, but the seating capacity is just not enough, so that's why we're breaking it up. We don't think it's would be right to, when you have such a nice facility, is to go back in the gym with those hard bleachers when we have some comfortable seatings for our opening. So that's the reason for 2 sessions. Now, never mind. Had we built that first one, it had 800 but anyway, we love our PAC. It's a great facility, so we can make adjustments. Our equip training, enhancing the quality of introductory professionals, that will start tomorrow actually and go through the 28th. The first 2 days we'll have the entire group, with the last day focusing on SPED teachers only. We look forward to working with our new teachers and administrators and as the new school year begins. Ms. Duke told me this morning we have 36 teachers who will be participating. Some of those were teachers that were hired late in last year and are coming on board for the equip training for this year. Also like to give you as you know, we're in the same boat as many school districts when it comes to personnel, but at this point in time we only have 1 certified position open, and that's a social studies position at Freedom Middle School. We're still needing bus drivers, however, and we still have paraprofessional positions that are available, but we're in a lot better shape than many school districts, and we appreciate Ms. Duke always is looking for candidates and speaking with candidates, and then she'll send those names to our principals, and our principals will follow up. And we've been really successful this summer, and we hope that continues. And Dr. Farmer, the pressure's on to find that, you and Ms. Duke, to find that social studies teacher. I'm sure we will. Last thing, conferences and meetings update. There's a list for you there. I won't read all those, but thank you for your service, and thank you for your willingness to participate in these professional development opportunities. That's all I have. Thank you.
Question, if I could. 2 things. It's my turn to drive the carpool for TSBA meeting. So if y'all want to meet at my house, I'll drive the carpool. Centennial High School.
You make sure you got that one, didn't you?
And the story bus. I think we've only done 1 refresh of that, haven't we, in the years that we've been offering that? Just 1 upgrade, major upgrade to it, to the program?
I know we went from the smaller bus to the larger story bus plus.
I mean, that's such a wonderful program, and if there's anything that needs to be provided incrementally or done for it, or any other service we can offer in conjunction with that. Not speaking for everybody, of course, but I would love to see how we could even make that program more beneficial to the community.
Okay. Yeah, we certainly will take that in consideration. I did want to give you one other piece of information. Students that have been approved as tuition, and this is not counting our employees, but out of zone within Williamson County, we have 22 students, and out of county, we have 6. That's 6 more than we would have had in previous years. But I think those numbers will grow. In fact, I was in my office this afternoon and a gentleman came by who was not out of county but out of district to pay for 3 children, and he just raved about, they were here last year as tuition, and just raved about the school and the education and their love for Franklin Special School District. So we'll get more, but I think that's a good start, especially for the out of county. Then also our employees out of zone within Williamson County, we have 42 children that are being brought by employees to the school district, and out of county employees, we've got 49 students that will be attending, as you understand and approve, that's as tuition free.
Did you say 32 or 42?
42 and 49 out of county.
Thank you.
But those are not tuition paying. They're,
Wonderful then. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I think that's all I have now.
While everyone's looking for social studies teachers, would you also find some bus drivers for us too? If you can turn a few rocks over for that, we would greatly appreciate it. Board packet contains your monthly HR and financial reports for the month of June. Sales tax collection report reflects a 1.7% increase over the same time period last year, concluding the year with a 6.2% increase of collections year to date. That does put our 21-22 revenue line for sales tax over budget by $319,057. That line.
Thanks, sir. Any announcements from the board?
Just quickly, I was going to say when Dr. Snowden was through, Young Scholars, I was able to tour that, loved it. I get to see Coach Kelly still teaching the kids how to fish, and then Magic, they had a magic act I hadn't seen before too. Really, really incredible, so great job.
Anything else? All right, it's election season, so don't forget to go vote. Anything else? We are adjourned.